my God, she's destroying everything. Push through, I want that sign gone.
Pull up! No! Oh God, no!
My HOA president tried to tear down my $2.2 million airplane hangar while I was literally flying the plane. She thought she found the perfect loophole. She was wrong. She committed a federal crime, forged documents, and ended up losing her own house so I could build a brand new $2 million hangar exactly where hers used to stand. Welcome. Hey everyone, welcome back to the HOA tapes. This story is actually insane. Stay with me till the end. You're not going to believe how it turns out. I'm Arthur. I flew cargo planes for 30 years. When I retired, I didn't want a regular house. I wanted to stay around airplanes. So I bought a home in Skyview Estates, a real flying community. Skyview is special. Every house has its own hangar and a taxiway that leads straight to a private runway. You open the doors, pull your plane out, and take off without ever leaving your property. I moved in back in 1996. Built a solid sheet metal hangar. Nothing fancy, but it was tough and did the job. Inside it lived my pride and joy. A Beechcraft King Air worth $2.2 million. I babied that plane for years. Always ahead on maintenance. Every scratch taken care of. Always protected. For 25 years it was perfect. Hangar barbecues on weekends. Helping neighbors swap engines. Swapping flying stories. It felt like real community. Then the city kept growing. Land prices went crazy. New expensive houses started popping up. And with them came people who didn't fly. That's when Brenda moved in right across the street. Brenda was the type who needed to control everything. Always outside with her clipboard, judging everyone's property. She didn't fly. She actually hated planes. Moved next to an active runway, and immediately started complaining about the noise. But what really set her off was my hangar. She called it an ugly eyesore, said it looked cheap, and was killing her property value. I tried talking to her like a normal neighbor. Walked over one day and said, "Brenda, this is a flying community. These hangars protect expensive equipment." She gave me this tight smile and replied, "Times are changing, Arthur. This neighborhood needs to look modern." I shrugged it off. Big mistake. She spent weeks going door to door, especially to the new non-pilot owners, telling them the old pilots were dragging the neighborhood down. Most of us were either flying or actually enjoying retirement, so we didn't show up to the HOA meeting. Brenda won easily and became president. For days later she made her move. I walked out one morning and found a bright orange violation notice taped to my hangar door. It demanded I tear down my hangar and rebuild it in expensive brick within 30 days, or pay $1,000 a day in fines. I actually laughed out loud. My hangar was built in 1996. The original charter said any aviation structures from before 2000 were grandfathered forever. They couldn't touch it. Sent it straight to my lawyer David. He thought it was ridiculous and fired off a strong cease and desist. Certified mail. Brenda signed for it herself. I figured that was the end of it. Most people back off when a lawyer gets involved. Brenda didn't. A few weeks later I had to make a quick trip to Ohio. A buddy needed a rare engine part one had crated up. I loaded the King Air, did my checks, and taxied out. As I rolled past Brenda's house I saw her standing on the porch watching me. She had this weird satisfied look. I took off, climbed to 11,000 feet, and settled in. 2 hours later the weather turned ugly fast. Big thunderstorm building from the west. I dropped apart, refueled quick, and headed home. About 45 minutes out my phone started exploding with alerts. Motion detected. Smart lock alerts. Non-stop. I opened the live camera feed on my iPad, and my stomach dropped. A yellow excavator was parked in my driveway. 2 guys were smashing into my workshop. And Brenda was standing right there directing everything. The bucket slammed into the roof of my hangar, and the whole thing started collapsing. I called her immediately on the satellite phone. I could hear heavy machinery roaring in the background. "Brenda, what the hell are you doing?" Stop them right now. She answered, completely calm. The board passed an emergency removal order last night, Arthur. That ugly metal thing is finally gone. Have a safe flight. Then she hung up on me. That's when everything changed. My low-fuel light came on. The storm was closing in fast. Turbulence started slamming the plane around. I was fighting the yoke. Rain hammering the windshield so hard the wipers could barely keep up. Lightning cracking all around me. Radar was glowing solid purple. I had maybe 35 minutes of fuel left. I radioed the neighborhood frequency. My buddy Jim answered, sounding panicked. Arthur, do not try to land here. Brenda had them parked 2 loaded dump trucks right across the taxiway entrance. You can touch down, but you'll be trapped on the open runway when that storm hits. The winds will flip the plane. At that moment I wasn't just angry. I was scared. I had a $2.2 million aircraft, almost no fuel, and a serious storm ready to destroy it if I landed at home. I declared Mayday. Air traffic control cleared the airspace and vectored me to a big international airport 40 miles east. The next 20 minutes were some of the roughest flying I've ever done in my life. Heavy rain, violent turbulence, fuel gauges dropping fast. I kept telling myself, just fly the plane. Don't think about anything else. I broke through the clouds and got it on the ground with minutes to spare. The airport saved the plane, but the emergency fees were brutal. Thousands in landing charges plus $1,500 a day for secure storage. 2 days later I drove home. My hangar was gone. Just a muddy scar and twisted metal left. Brenda walked across the street looking proud of herself and handed me a $12,000 bill for cleanup. I didn't yell. I pulled out my phone, started recording her, and said, "Thanks, Brenda. Have a good one." She looked confused. I got in the car and went straight to David's office. David watched the footage and listened to the phone call. He just shook his head and said, "She really screwed herself this time." We sued the HOA and Brenda personally. It took months. During discovery, we found the truth. There was never any real board vote. Brenda had sat at her kitchen table, forged the other board members' signatures on a fake emergency order, and hired some random crew off the internet. When the HOA's insurance company saw the forgery, they dropped the neighborhood the same day. No coverage for intentional illegal acts. The other board members panicked. They suddenly realized they were exposed. Depositions got intense. My lawyer played the recording of Brenda on the phone while I was stuck in the air. Showed the dump trucks blocking the taxiway. Brenda went from confident to quiet to straight up nervous. By the end of her deposition, she looked sick. The judge was furious. He awarded me $1.2 million total. Because of the forgery and her acting way outside her role, he made Brenda personally liable for $600,000. Brenda didn't have that kind of money. She filed bankruptcy. Her house went into foreclosure. The HOA got stuck with the other $600,000. No insurance, so they hit every homeowner with a $16,250 special assessment bill. The neighborhood turned on her hard. The same people who voted for her were now furious. Bills got taped to her door. People yelled at her every time she stepped outside. A couple weeks later, she packed up in the middle of the night and left. We held an emergency meeting. The whole board got voted out. They asked me to become president. I said yes. First thing I did was rewrite the charter. Stripped the HOA down to almost nothing. Just runway maintenance. No more aesthetic rules. No more harassing people. Then I bought Brenda's foreclosed house at auction, using part of the settlement money. Tore the whole mansion down. Now that exact spot is a big, clean concrete apron. That's where I park my King Air every single day. Right where her house used to stand. Brenda tried to destroy my dream because she didn't like how it looked. She lost her house, her money, and her reputation. And I got an even better hangar. Paid for by her mistakes. What would you have done if you were in that cockpit watching your hangar get demolished live? Drop your answer below. I read every comment. If you want more Wild Plane vs. HOA stories, smash like, subscribe, and hit the bell. See you in the next one.